I wore the revealing dress he hated on New Year's Eve, came home to find divorce papers. Hi, I don't know if I'm a bad person, but I think I might be. Maybe you can tell me. This is something I've been thinking about for a while now, and I just need to get it out because it's eating me up inside. Okay, so here's the thing. Before I got married, I loved wearing revealing things, short skirts, crop tops, stuff like that. They made me feel confident, and I liked the way I looked in them. I also loved posting videos on social media. I would do dances or little skits, and sometimes I'd just show off a new outfit I had bought. People seemed to like my videos, and I got a lot of followers. It made me feel good about myself. But then I met Peter. Peter was sweet and kind, and he made me laugh a lot. He was different from anyone I had ever dated before. He didn't just tell me I was pretty, he really listened to me, and he cared about my dreams. He wasn't just interested in me for how I looked, which was new for me. So when he asked me to marry him, I said yes. After we got married, Peter told me he didn't really like it when I dressed in short skirts and crop tops anymore. He said it made him feel uncomfortable, and he worried about what other people thought. At first, I didn't understand. I thought he was trying to control me, and it made me angry. But then he explained that he just wanted me to look more classy and grown up. He said it wasn't about stopping me from being myself. It was about showing people a different side of me. He even gave me some ideas for my social media videos. He suggested I try doing things like cooking or showing off cute outfits that weren't so revealing. At first, I didn't think people would like that as much. I mean, who wants to watch someone bake cookies when they can watch a fun dance, right? But I tried it because I loved Peter, and I wanted him to be happy. And guess what? It worked. My account started to grow even more. People loved my new content. They left comments saying I was so creative and sweet and talented. I started getting brand deals and sponsorships. It was amazing. I felt like I was finally being seen for more than just my looks, and I was proud of myself. For a while, everything was perfect. Peter was happy, I was happy, and my followers were happy too. We would spend evenings brainstorming new ideas for my videos, and it felt like we were a team. I loved that about us. We weren't just husband and wife, we were partners. But then, about 2 years into our marriage, something started to change. It wasn't Peter. He was still the same loving, supportive guy he had always been. It was me. It all started when an old friend of mine, Mia, reached out to me. We hadn't talked in years, but she saw one of my videos and sent me a message. She told me she loved what I was doing, but she also said she missed the old me. She said I had changed, and she didn't mean it in a good way. Mia told me that I had abandoned who I truly was. She said the girl she used to know would never care about what other people thought. She would never let someone else tell her how to dress or act. She said I used to be fun and bold and fearless, and now I was just boring. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself Mia didn't know what she was talking about. She didn't know how much happier I was now, or how much better my life was. But her words stuck with me. I couldn't stop thinking about them. I wondered if I was truly boring and if I had really changed that much. I started looking back at my old videos, the ones from before I met Peter. And you know what? I did look different. I looked happier, more confident, more alive. Or maybe I just thought I did because of what Mia said. The more I thought about it, the more I missed that version of myself. I missed the way it felt to wear whatever I wanted and not care about what anyone thought. I missed the thrill of posting a video and knowing people were watching because they liked how bold and fun I was. I started to feel trapped, like I was living someone else's life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved Peter, and I loved the life we had built together. But I also felt like I was losing a part of myself and I didn't know what to do about it. So one day I went shopping and I bought us some skin-revealing outfits. I didn't tell Peter because I knew he wouldn't like it, but I didn't care. I just wanted to feel like myself again, even if it was just for a little while. When I put on the outfit, I felt amazing. It was like I had been asleep for 2 years and I was finally waking up. I took a picture of myself in the mirror and posted it on my social media. I told myself it was just one post. It didn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just about the outfit. The comments on the post were wild. People were saying they missed this side of me and how happy they were to see me like this again. It was like Mia had been right all along, but when Peter saw the post, he didn't say anything. He just looked at me with this sad, disappointed expression, and it broke my heart. I wanted to explain to him how I was feeling, but I didn't know how to put it into words, and honestly, I wasn't sure he would understand. I thought maybe it was just a phase, and I would get it out of my system, but it wasn't. I started wearing short skirts and crop tops more often, even when Peter wasn't around. I started posting more videos like I used to, and my account started to blow up again. Peter noticed, of course, but he didn't say anything, and I didn't bring it up either. It was like we were both pretending everything was fine, even though we both knew it wasn't. And now, I don't know what to do. Part of me feels like I'm betraying Peter. He's done so much for me, and he's always been there for me. He made me believe in myself when I didn't think I could do anything besides look pretty on camera. I didn't think Peter would actually confront me. He never really liked arguments, so I thought he'd just let it slide. But one night, after I posted another video in one of my new outfits, he came to me. He sat down across from me in the living room while I was scrolling through my phone, looking at the comments on my post. He started by asking me if we could talk. I knew right away what it was about, but I pretended like I didn't. I asked him what was wrong, even though I already knew. He told me he was worried about me and us. He said he felt like I was changing and that it was affecting our marriage. He said he didn't want to control me, but that he missed the way things used to be when we were a team and we supported each other. I could feel my bloodstreams filling with anxiety, and I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me. I told him I didn't like the way he was acting like I was doing something wrong. I said I felt like he was trying to hold me back and that he didn't understand me anymore. He looked hurt, but he didn't yell or get mad. He stayed calm, which somehow made me even angrier. He said he wasn't trying to hold me back. He said he just wanted to help me be the best version of myself, and he thought I was losing sight of who I had become over the last couple of years. That's when I snapped. I told him he was being controlling and manipulative. I said he didn't care about what made me happy, only about what made him comfortable. I told him he didn't understand what it was like to feel like you were losing yourself. He looked at me for a long time without saying anything. I thought he was going to start yelling or storm out of the room, but he didn't. Instead, he said he didn't want us to argue because he loved me, and he wanted me to be happy. He said he would let me be, and he wouldn't try to tell me what to do anymore. But then, he said something that made my stomach drop. He told me I could do whatever I wanted, because he couldn't control me. But he said I needed to remember that I was married, and I should dress and act like it. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. I just sat there staring at him, while he got up and walked out of the room. After he left, I started to feel a little guilty. I knew Peter wasn't a bad person. He had always been supportive of me, even when I didn't deserve it, and I knew he wasn't trying to hurt me, but I couldn't help feeling like he was trying to put me in a box, like he wanted me to be someone I wasn't anymore. I went back to my phone and looked at my post again. The comments were pouring in, and everyone was saying how much they loved the video and how amazing I looked. For a moment, it made me feel better, but then I thought about what Peter said, and it all started to feel hollow. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should keep doing what made me happy, even if it hurt Peter, or I should try to be the person he wanted me to be, even if it made me feel like I was losing myself. I sat there for a long time thinking about everything that had happened and everything Peter had said, but no matter how hard I thought about it, I couldn't figure out what to do next. After that argument with Peter, things felt weird between us. We didn't talk about it again, but it was like there was this invisible wall between us. It wasn't something you could see, but you could feel it. I started noticing the way Peter looked at me when I dressed up for my videos, or when I left the house in one of my outfits. He didn't say anything, but his eyes said enough. The truth is, I was disturbed too. Every time I opened my closet, I felt torn. I had clothes Peter liked, simple, classy outfits that made me look elegant, and then I had the clothes I liked, the ones that made me feel bold and free. I knew which ones made him happy, but I also knew which ones made me happy, and they weren't the same. Sometimes I'd stand there for what felt like forever, staring at my clothes, trying to decide who I wanted to be that day. I knew I should probably wear something he would approve of, but I couldn't help it. It felt like there was this little voice in my head that kept saying, "This is who you are. Don't hide it." And so, more often than not, I picked the outfits I wanted, not the ones Peter would have liked. I could see it bothered him, but he didn't say anything, and that almost made it worse. It felt like he had given up on trying to make me see his side, and that made me feel guilty. But the guilt didn't last long, because as soon as I stepped outside, I felt good again. The attention, the compliments, the way people looked at me, it all made me feel alive. One evening, Peter and I were invited to a friend's party. I knew most of the people there would be Peter's friends, not mine, so I tried to pick an outfit that wasn't too revealing, but still had a bit of flair. I thought it was a good compromise, but when Peter saw me, I could tell he wasn't happy. He didn't say anything, though, and I didn't bring it up either. We left the house and started walking to the party since it wasn't too far. It was a cool evening, and the streets were lit up with lights from the shops and restaurants. As we walked, we passed this boutique with a big glass window, and that's when I saw it. There, in the display, was this dress. It wasn't just any dress. It was short, way shorter than anything I owned, and it had these sparkly straps and a low neckline. It was the kind of dress that screamed confidence and attention, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I stopped walking and stared at it, imagining myself wearing it. I could see myself twirling around in it, posting a video, and watching the likes and comments roll in. It was perfect. It was exactly the kind of thing I used to wear before Peter. Peter noticed I had stopped, and he asked me what I was looking at. I didn't want to tell him I was seriously considering buying that dress because I knew what he'd say. So instead, I laughed and said I was just teasing him. But then I added, almost as a joke, that he should buy it for me. He looked at the dress, then back at me, and I could see the disapproval all over his face. He said the dress was inappropriate, and I knew he meant it. But instead of agreeing or letting it go, I laughed again and told him I was only joking. But I wasn't joking. Not really. I wanted that dress. I wanted it so badly I could already picture it hanging in my closet. I could feel the fabric against my skin and hear the clicks of my heels as I walked in it. It was like the dress was calling to me, and I hated that Peter didn't see it the way I did. We kept walking to the party, but my mind stayed on that dress. Peter was talking about something, but I wasn't listening. All I could think about was how I could go back and buy that dress without him knowing. As we got closer to the party, I started feeling this strange mix of emotions. Part of me felt excited, thinking about how amazing I'd look in that dress. But another part of me felt uneasy, like maybe I was crossing a line I shouldn't cross. I glanced at Peter, who was walking beside me, looking so calm and steady. He had no idea what I was really thinking, and that made me feel even worse. The dress stayed in my mind for days after we saw it in the shop. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was like it was calling to me, telling me it belonged to me and no one else. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see myself in it. I could imagine the compliments I'd get, the way people would look at me, and how confident I would feel. Peter didn't bring it up again, and I didn't mention it either, but the urge to have that dress just wouldn't go away. So one evening when Peter was busy working in the other room, I grabbed my tablet and searched for the dress online. I found it on the shop's website, and I stared at it for a long time. I looked at every angle of it, zoomed in on the sparkly straps, and imagined how it would hug my body perfectly. I even imagined posting a picture in it and how everyone would say how stunning I looked. My fingers hovered over the Add to Cart button, but I hesitated. I wasn't sure why. Maybe I felt guilty. Maybe I was afraid of what Peter would say if he found out. Just then, Peter walked into the room. I panicked and quickly turned off the screen, hoping he didn't see anything. He asked me what I was doing, and I said nothing. My voice sounded shaky, even to me. I tried to act normal, but I knew he could tell something was off. I got up and left the room, but as I walked out, I saw Peter glance at the tablet I had left on the couch. He picked it up and turned it on, and I knew he saw what I was looking at. My heart was racing, but I pretended I didn't care. I told myself it didn't matter. It was just a dress. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about how Peter had looked at me when he saw the tablet. It was like he was disappointed, but he didn't say anything. That silence made me feel uneasy, but it also made me more determined. I wasn't going to let him control what I wore. So I went back to the website, and this time I didn't hesitate. I added the dress to my cart, entered the payment details, and ordered it. It felt like a victory. I was finally doing something for myself, and I didn't care what Peter thought. But I made one big mistake. I used Peter's credit card without thinking about it. I didn't mean to. It was just saved on the account, and I clicked it without realizing. I didn't think he'd notice right away, but of course he did. That evening, Peter came into the room holding his phone, and I could tell right away that he knew. He asked me if I had ordered something, and I tried to act clueless. But he showed me the notification from the shop, and there was no denying it. He told me he had canceled the order, and that's when I lost it. I couldn't believe he had done that. I felt like he was treating me like a child, like I couldn't make my own decisions. I told him he had no right to cancel my order, and he said he had every right because it was his card. We started yelling at each other. It wasn't like our usual arguments where we both tried to stay calm. This one was heated, and it felt like we were both saying things we couldn't take back. He said he would rather die than see his wife wearing something like that, and I told him he was a backward thinker who didn't understand the world we lived in. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and sharp. For a moment, neither of us said anything. I could see the hurt in his eyes, but I didn't back down. I was too angry, too frustrated, and too stubborn to apologize. I stormed out of the room and slammed the door behind me, but even as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had crossed a line I shouldn't have. For days after our fight, I couldn't stop thinking about that dress. It was like it had its own voice, whispering to me every time I thought about something else. Peter's words from our argument kept replaying in my head too. The way he said he would rather die than see me wear something like that made me feel angry and rebellious. Who was he to decide what I could or couldn't wear? The more I thought about it, the more annoyed I became. It wasn't just about the dress anymore. It was about me proving a point. I wanted to show Peter that I could do what I wanted and that he couldn't control me. So one afternoon, when Peter was at work, I grabbed my bag and headed straight for the store. I walked fast, my heels clicking on the pavement, and my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't just buying a dress. I was making a statement. When I reached the store, there it was, hanging in the display window, like it was waiting for me. My stomach flipped with excitement. I walked in and made a beeline for the dress, running my fingers over the fabric. It was even more beautiful up close. I didn't hesitate. I took it to the counter, pulled out my own card this time, and paid for it. While I was waiting for the cashier to bag it up, I took out my phone and decided to film myself. I smiled into the camera, holding up the dress like a trophy. I made a quick video talking about how I finally got what I wanted and posted it online before I even left the store. I felt powerful. I felt like I was in control of my life and no one could stop me. On the walk home, I kept checking my phone, watching as the views and comments rolled in. People were saying how amazing the dress was and how bold I was for getting it. It felt good, really good. But as soon as I walked into the house, the energy shifted. Peter was already home, sitting on the couch with his arms crossed. He didn't look up when I walked in, but I could feel the tension in the air. I knew he had seen the video. I tried to act normal, like I didn't notice the way he was avoiding eye contact. I put the shopping bag in the closet and washed up before dinner. The silence between us was so heavy, it felt like it was pressing down on my chest. At dinner, we barely said a word to each other. Peter ate quietly, his eyes fixed on his plate, while I pushed my food around, pretending like everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. I could feel his anger simmering just below the surface. After dinner, as we were clearing the table, Peter finally spoke. He asked me why I didn't respect him. His voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp, and it cut through me like a knife. When Peter asked me why I didn't respect him, I felt a rush of anger. I couldn't believe he was turning this back on me, like I was the one in the wrong. I told him it wasn't about respect. I told him it was about him not respecting my choices. I said he was being unfair and stubborn, always trying to control me. Peter didn't yell or argue like I expected him to. He just looked at me with this quiet frustration, the kind that made me feel small, but also made me more defensive. He told me he didn't want to argue anymore, but he said I shouldn't wear the dress. He said it would hurt him to see me in it, and he wouldn't like it if I did. The way he said it made me feel cornered, like he was giving me an ultimatum without actually saying it. I couldn't take it. I got up from the table, left my plate where it was, and walked away. I didn't say anything, and I didn't look back. I knew it was rude, but I didn't care. I was too angry to care. The days passed, and things between us stayed cold and distant. We didn't fight again, but we barely talked either. Every time we were in the same room, the air felt heavy, like we were both waiting for the other person to say something, but neither of us did. Then New Year's Eve came. There was a big party at a friend's house, and everyone we knew was going to be there. I knew Peter wasn't in the mood for it, but I didn't care. I was determined to go, and I knew exactly what I was going to wear. I pulled out the dress from the back of the closet and put it on. It fit perfectly, just like I knew it would. I looked at myself in the mirror and smiled. I felt beautiful and confident, like I was finally being true to myself. When I walked out into the living room, Peter was sitting on the couch. He was watching TV, or at least pretending to. I could feel his eyes on me as I walked past, but he didn't say a word. I didn't say anything either. I didn't even look at him. But as I reached for the door, I glanced back, just for a second. The look on his face stopped me in my tracks. His eyes were filled with this quiet rage, a kind of anger I had never seen in him before. It wasn't loud or explosive, but it was there, burning beneath the surface. For a moment I felt a pang of guilt, but I pushed it away. I told myself it was his problem, not mine. If he couldn't accept me for who I was, that was on him. So I walked out the door and went to the party, leaving him sitting there in silence. The party was everything I hoped it would be. The music was loud, the drinks were flowing, and everyone kept complimenting my dress. People were telling me how amazing I looked and how bold I was for wearing it. For a little while, I forgot about Peter and everything that had happened between us, but when I came home, everything changed. The house was dark and quiet, and Peter wasn't there. I called out his name, but there was no answer. At first, I thought maybe he had gone to bed early or decided to go out as well, but then I saw it. On the kitchen table, there was a stack of papers, divorce papers. I froze. My heart started pounding, and my hands began to shake as I picked them up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The words blurred together as tears filled my eyes. I sat down at the table, the dress suddenly feeling tight and suffocating. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could do was stare at those papers and wonder how it had come to this. The reality of it hit me like a punch to the stomach. Peter was gone, and he wasn't coming back. I had pushed him too far, and now I was paying the price. I broke down in tears, my body shaking as I sobbed into my hands. For the first time, I realized how badly I had messed up, but it was too late. The damage was done, and there was no undoing it. Update. It's been 3 months since that night, and I feel like a ghost of who I used to be. When I came home to those divorce papers, I thought it was just Peter being dramatic, but it wasn't. He meant it. He really left, and he never looked back. The divorce is finalized now. Everything is split, our house, our savings, even some of the furniture. He's gone, and I am here alone, surrounded by things that remind me of him. At first, I tried to act like I was fine. I posted on social media like nothing had changed, trying to smile through the pain. I even wore the dress a few more times, thinking maybe it would make me feel better, like I had won something, but it didn't. Instead, every time I saw myself in it, I felt this deep, heavy emptiness. It didn't look as good anymore. It didn't make me feel confident. It just reminded me of everything I had lost. My followers started noticing something was off. My content wasn't the same. I wasn't the same. People stopped engaging with my posts. They didn't leave mean comments or anything, but the silence was almost worse. My likes went down. My views dropped. People unfollowed me in waves. It was like they could see through the screen and tell that I was faking it. I tried to spice things up, posting more and wearing outfits I thought would bring people back, but it didn't work. Without Peter's advice, my ideas fell flat. He used to help me plan my videos, pick out themes, and even edit my content. I thought I didn't need him, but now I see how much he did for me. He was the reason my account grew in the first place. The days feel bleak. I wake up, scroll through my phone, and see my follower count drop again. I get up, walk around the house, and see things we used to share. His favorite mug is still in the cupboard. The chair he loved to sit in feels too empty. Even the couch feels wrong without him stretched out on it watching TV. Guilt eats at me constantly. I replay every fight in my head, every moment I could have done something different. But I didn't. I see his face in my mind, the way he looked at me that night when I walked out in the dress. I should have stayed. I should have apologized. But I didn't. And now he's gone and I can't do anything about it. He doesn't answer my messages or calls. I tried to reach out once or twice, but he made it clear he didn't want to hear from me. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to hear from me either. I feel stuck, like I'm trapped in this version of my life that I built for myself, but don't actually want. My career is falling apart and I don't have the energy to fix it. My friends don't understand. They tell me that I will bounce back and that I'm better off without him, but they don't know what it's like. They don't know how much Peter meant to me, not just as my husband, but as my partner in everything. I thought I was fighting for freedom, but all I did was push away the one person who really cared about me. And now, I'm left with nothing but regret. I wish I could turn back time and undo all of it. I wish I could tell Peter how much he meant to me before it was too late. But it is too late, and that's the part that hurts the most.